to order. She said we do not have to do a roll call, it's a special meeting. The first item on the, well, it's the second item on the agenda is our meeting with VistaWorks, so we're gonna go ahead and skip to that.
Okay.
Great.
I made little printouts and everything, but this is not a super formal presentation or anything. So we just, there's a whole bunch of stuff I can go through or not go through. There's a new non-VistaWorks logo at the top, we're rebranding, so don't be alarmed, it's still me, it's still the same people.
As you hand those out, maybe we'll go around and introduce everyone.
I almost got everybody.
Okay.
Ashley Ryan, I'm the chair of the board.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maria, no?
Chris Miller,
Chris?
KRIS, like Santa Claus.
And I'm Steve Berger, city manager.
Okay.
Yep, you too.
I have cards too, if people want actual printed cards.
Yeah, I'll take one. Jason Decker, I'm the vice chair.
Okay.
And I'm Joe Kozlowitz, or Koz, the secretary, I guess.
Excellent. You're in the position, I would never want, I don't get to take notes.
He does fantastic notes.
He does.
That's good. I tried using AI to take all our notes down, and it does a pretty good job. Unless you're using the owl, and then it thinks there's only one person no matter who's talking.
Oh,
So you
man.
can't tell who's voting, right?
Oh, man. I will need to stay with it.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you.
I think I got everybody. Did I get you?
Yeah.
Okay. So informally, I'm Ryan. And, oh gosh, I'm gonna break the heck out.
Oh, yeah, maybe
no,
try the
it's
other
okay.
one there. That one's. You might want to start.
I am the owner of VistaWorks, and likely you will meet with Lindsay Diamond, who's the account director. She's very involved in day-to-day activities. I've got a big team. You've seen the proposal, so you know that we can kind of handle and do anything that you guys need. But what we need to know first is, what do you really want? And it's like, I kind of want to, we did some introductions. You know me from presentation and proposal. I put your names and everything, but I'd like to hear just anecdotal, or I guess it is on the record, but things that what the town wants, what the city wants, where you dream it going, see it changing, what you want to embrace, what are your pain points, that sorts of things. I'm going to try to write a whole slew of notes, but I like to start there. It's not everything can be in an RFP where it's written down. So, in no particular order.
Start on your side.
Yeah, I mean, I can start. So, I mean, I would say a lot of this probably like my own personal perspective and not necessarily that of the entire board.
Which is fine.
Yeah. But Trinidad, as you probably know, is kind of at a point of influx. It's been a boom and bust type of town for a long time. Right now, there is no major industry or major employer. So I know a huge thing we're looking at is tourism in general, and that's part of why you're here. And there's going to be a lot of aspects to that. Outdoor rec is a huge component. So we have this gem of a new state park that's going to be incredible that they're developing over the coming years, and there's already the initial trail system is complete. So that is huge feather in the cap. You can get on top of Fisher's Peak right now today, if you don't mind some pretty sketchy scrambling.
I didn't bring my snowshoes or
Yeah.
bombs or anything.
And so that is, I mean, that's an attraction that we can absolutely be marketing already. So hiking, biking, the gravel biking scene is enormous here, and it's only going to keep getting more popular. We have a huge race called the RAD. That is a lifetime production. They are the biggest name in the game.
What was the name of it?
It's called the RAD Dirt Fest. So Lifetime runs Unbound in Kansas, which is the single biggest gravel race in the world. It is a big deal to have them here. We had around 1,000 racers this season. It's part of their Grand Prix race series, so it gets all the pros out for those race series points, and it's a pretty large prize pot as well.
Lifetime's big.
Yeah, it's massive. And then we have a smaller grassroots gravel race in the spring called Pony Express, and then there's also a gravel guidebook that's locally produced, has since been expanded nationwide with other locations, but the guy who does that, his name's Juan.
Yeah, I've met with Juan a few
Yeah,
times.
yeah, so he's here in Trinidad. So yeah, gravel scene
I
is
didn't
huge.
realize he lived here.
Yep. Mountain bike is coming with Fishers, and then of course we have the lake park as well as like North Lake and things upriver. So yeah, outdoor rec, huge piece there. I mean, fishing, we can go way down that rabbit hole. Besides that, I think arts and culture is the other big one, and then probably history, so Wild West and architecture. And in terms of the art scene, we have tons and tons of galleries. We have a rapidly exploding music scene going on, which is really cool. A lot of venues around town, and we are definitely going to put a lot of oomph behind that in terms of events, I think. So to me, those are kind of like the three areas that I would be focusing on in terms of what we are promoting and what I'd like to kind of see highlighted. I don't know where else you might want to go, but yeah. that's kind of the top
Well,
eight.
one interesting question from my point is, this is the city of Lanta, is it, or, sorry, city of Trinidad, but is it Los Angeles County too, or are we?
Yeah.
This is the base camp for the rest of the county?
So that to me is a little bit of a double-edged sword,
Yeah.
especially from the tourism board perspective. So for me as a business owner, yeah, it's the county. As a cyclist, it's the county, or an outdoorsman. But we need people coming back to the city center. And so anything that we do is very important to me, has to tie back to downtown Trinidad.
This is the base camp.
And, that fuels our lodging tax, which, is not necessarily the end all be all, but that is our main goal of what we need to be keeping an eye on as a board, is growing that revenue base. And by extension, supporting all the other businesses and other things going on. But, any festival we have, to me, having it somewhere that's removed is overall a net negative for our goals as a board, just as an example.
Yeah, well, I'll probably ask more precise questions about funding mechanisms and tax and how that feeds into the revenue for the board, and most of the time it affects how people's, what they want to see in their goals and everything.
Yeah. But you're correct in that a lot of the reasons someone would come here may or may not be within, a mile of downtown. So-
Exactly, yeah. All right,
I think Joe summed it up perfectly, honestly. I think he really hit all the big talking points. And right now, I think when we have like something like the Rad Dirt or a festival going on, the town does well, but weekend to weekend, there's a big drop off. So I think everyone would like to see it more predictable, more consistent, really leaning in on our hiking and biking that people can come do anytime. There doesn't need to be a big event that takes a year and hundreds of people and lots of money to put on. To really do that, and we have so our lodging tax, we just got a report back and we're actually up over the summer. But if you ask anyone downtown, they would tell you we felt like we were way down. So I think a problem we're having is people go stay on our hotels just on the outside of town, over on the other side of I-25, they're not coming into town. So really focusing on downtown, our assets we have, things to do, and having events downtown, I think would be good.
was sales tax down or flat comparatively?
We're down in sales tax. All of our revenue sources, other than lodging tax, is down.
That's a similar picture that I hear from other folks.
And we're monitoring other communities. There's some that are riding out okay, but in general, our entire nation's kind of going into tougher economic times.
Yeah, it's strange that I hear that things are down,
Yeah.
and I get the lodging tax reports, and I'm like,
Yeah.
but
Still staying in a hotel.
people are still staying, so this is kind of the time to invest in that tourism opportunity.
Yeah.
And
Well, and not to get off track, but question for you, Marty. When we do see economic downturns, to me, there may be logically an increase in hotel stays because less people are wanting to fly, more people are just wanting to use their personal vehicles to get around. Does that
That's
seem
absolutely
correct?
true, yes.
Okay, so that might be actually a
Yeah,
Good
well,
thing
with
is
people
you're-
drive rather than fly or go international.
Yeah.
Right.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was
See
a-
that your ones a lot when the economy goes up, the sales goes up there.
Yeah, so when COVID hit, for instance, so there were 7 counties in Colorado, rural counties.
Yeah.
And, 6 of those were extremely in the black. They shot up because everybody wanted to get out of the city. But they couldn't fly, they didn't want to go anywhere, they were worried about, it's the same thing with the economic downturn, they want to
Yeah.
experience something local. So in a way, it's an opportunity.
Absolutely. Cool.
My background before hospitality has been digital marketing. I worked for a firm very similar to yours for, about 5 years in hospitality, about 10 years of hospitality marketing management and tourism kind of stuff. So from a marketing standpoint, we've really just focused on magazine, billboard, print type of stuff and haven't really gotten up to speed with more modern marketing. So I think really a focus on content, guides. I mean, if you search for like any keyword around any of our assets, and we don't, our website's media doesn't show up at all. So some really good content around, what we have, and we're working on getting some video and pictures and that kind of stuff created. So focusing on, other mediums, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook type of stuff, and targeting people on their phones. Just having really good articles and pictures about our assets and using them so we can tell our own story rather than having other people do it. And I've seen on YouTube other people are telling our story and they've focused on stuff we would prefer they didn't. So if we get ahead of that and jump some of them in the search engines so we can tell a better story than them. So
Do you have full-time or is it part-time? Do you have photographer, videographer, folks that are sort of doing that
No.
content development?
Well, I mean, locally.
yeah, no, we don't
She
have
said
we
something.
don't have anyone like that. We've got some quotes coming in for a project like that, so we can have some assets to start with.
Mhm.
But developing more along the way will definitely be a focus. This is just a very, very tiny start.
Do you have existing media library photos, B-rolls?
I do. Pretty extensive. I mean, there's a lot of photos there. Could we refresh it? Absolutely. I mean, I don't know how many new photos you can get of Blue Mansion, and I've got probably 30 of them, but things like that are timeless.
Mhm.
So there's a good photo library, there's a good historical library as well. I actually just shared that with Cone Marketing because they're doing our visitor guide.
Okay, yeah.
So at some point, I have it on an external hard drive, so
Okay.
we'll have to download the pictures and then I can get them to you in a zip.
Okay. Video as well?
There's some video, not a whole lot. Video is one of those things that really needs to be updated.
And the pictures, you used the word timeless, which is great, because, picture, museum, whatever, those stayed. But then the pictures of people enjoying themselves and how they're dressed
Exactly.
and that's the thing that needs to continue
Right.
to be
Yes,
produced.
people in pictures is absolutely important.
I think one thing that'll be helpful for us is recommendations on where to place media
Mhm.
on things that you've seen be successful with other
Yeah, for sure.
towns and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And looking at them, from, I'm sure you guys use a variety of tools and that kind of stuff, with recommendations and here's why we think that would be good.
Yeah.
So we get offered a lot of stuff and without me going through or, someone with that kind of background and looking at a variety of tools and we don't have the time for it. So help with that kind of stuff would be awesome.
So the one thing I wanna, this is like the hometown meeting, I love this, but anybody approaches you with, whether it's an ad or a pitch or whatever, just run it by me, the team, and we can say, nope, we've tried that, ridiculous, or we can say, let's take a peek at that, let's see the media kit, let's look at it, let's talk to them. We'll do all that legwork
That
for
would
you,
be awesome.
Yeah.
and then you don't have to worry about it.
That's great.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
So the previous tourism board was very print concentric. I mean, everything was print. It was popular publications, USA Today, True West Magazine, you know, things like that. So, I mean, we're in a new age. We need to stay with the times to, you know, do digital and stuff. But we still understand the importance of some print media because there are absolutely still some demographics that like to have that in their hands. So we would depend on you to say, yes, let's do print, or no, let's do digital, or whatever, so.
Well, I don't, like you just said, I don't think you can't just dump it.
Right.
The landscape is changing. A lot of the print media folks are adapting and changing stuff. I mean, you're talking about radio. Well, the radio department has a digital component to it now, so they recognize.
Right.
You're getting your visitor guide done. That's awesome. What is the distribution plan for the guide? Do we have
Distribution had historically, and that's absolutely up for change. It is it's one of the many pieces that the Colorado Welcome Centers distribute. So they have a database of locations where they put them in all 10 welcome centers. And then they share them out with other destinations as well, like Colorado Springs and Pueblo, and you know, the bigger populated areas, right? Things like that. So Canyon City for the Royal Gorge, places like that is where it goes. And then we distribute it locally and regionally.
How many are you having printed?
I think last year we printed 30,000. I don't know what we're gonna do this year, but we're also looking at digitizing it. I mean, the former one was digitized. So digitizing this will give us a bigger area to distribute.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very popular option. I mean, you can call it digital version of a PDF, right?
Right.
And they all are PDFs when you send them to
yeah.
print. You can make them fancier looking flip books.
Yeah.
You know, and some of them embed links on people's ads and stuff, and that's, I don't know if you're getting ads in the guide.
No, this one is not.
That's not what but like certain articles or links or whatever, those can be embedded in the digital version. The important thing there is you want it to operate on the phone when they're looking for something to do, that they have to easily be able to read it, easily be able to
A
operate.
good way to collect their email addresses.
Yeah, and that's the next
Get your
question.
email, get a link to it.
Yeah, so do you participate in the CTO Leads program?
Not at the moment, so I have a conversation coming next week, I think it is, with Destination Colorado.
Okay. So the CTO, the Colorado Tourism Office, what they offer is when someone, Texas or wherever, gets on the Colorado.com and says, I'd like a visitor guide. Then you fill that out and they say, oh, you might also be interested in.
Yes, and we do that.
Oh, you
I'm
do
sorry,
that.
that's
Okay.
what, I didn't
Got
know
it.
that's what you meant, but yes, we do. And then we also offer it to local businesses and encourage them to get on the CTO website stuff. So they have specific categories for lodging, restaurant, et cetera, specific by location, by region, by city.
What do you do with the names that come in from the CTO?
They are sent a visitor guide.
Okay,
Usually.
you mail it to them.
Yes, so I have, we usually get about 150 a week in like off shoulder season. And then in the summer season, we get probably 300, 400 different leads, and last year, since we were out of the print piece, we did send them the PDF. So we continued with that.
Is that you think your biggest source?
That and the second one that generates reader leads for us is National Parks Media. And then there's Go Colorado. I don't know if you, so it's a website specifically, it's only web.
Yeah.
And those three were the top markets that we used for reader leads.
Okay.
I want to make sure we hear from Ashley and Chris on your thoughts as well.
Yeah, we're not around the room.
No,
Oh
I know.
yeah, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
We're just skipping around.
I'm the old man on the board, and I was on the old board, as we shifted in, I will have to admit, I've learned a whole lot more than I wanted to from these two guys. And actually too, we had spoke earlier about what I'd done. I promoted the Texas musical drama for the last 7 years before I retired 6 years ago, and spent 25 years promoting the Amarillo Civic Center, because we did a lot of our shows in-house, so event promotion, tours and everything. I've done it, but all with the old traditional advertising. As I was retiring, slowly being pushed out, the digital was becoming more available and more efficient, and yeah, it's amazing what it can do. I still have the belief that some of the traditional, as if nothing else, support that mix and everything is good, but it's a little hard for me to judge because I know all of it and I don't know all the aspects of the digital, so it's hard to stand up and fight with these guys and say we have to do this and this, because there's so many things that you can do out there.
Yeah, there are an overwhelming number of options.
Before I started promoting, I spent 20 years in radio as a jock, as an account executive, copywriter, produce spots, and I do produce spots now for the theater, and we have a contract to run pretty much with the local station, and the biggest benefit of that is not so much outside as locally, them knowing what we're doing.
Yep.
It does help, obviously, outside is now they've got apps and you can listen to them anywhere, but there's also 3 million radio stations to listen to. So it's, we have to use it, be aware of what it offers, and to produce, to show people that quality of life is part of what we do with tourism, because that brings people in, so.
I think that was one of the things that got mentioned sort of between the lines in the RFP was, and I just call it tourism advocacy. Basically, a lot of times residents don't even know you guys exist as a tourism board. Yeah. And a lot of people are like, I want a bunch of tourists here. They invade my favorite fishing spot.
Yeah.
I can't find a parking place in the summer. All sorts of weird excuses. So you can use the radio. You could do interviews with tourism board members. You could put little spots in the newspaper that said, "Did you know why doing X, Y, Z? The economic impact to the community is this." And those numbers they're super easy to produce, but getting them out to the residents, that's the tough part.
Yeah.
Scheduling meetings with the Elks Club or all these big little civic community gatherings. That's the time to share it and present it to city councils and commission meetings and things like that.
Well, I use my phone. I look at Facebook, games and stuff like that, and it amazes me the ads that do come up. Some of them is like, cool. The musical drama Texas that I was promoting forever, I'll get spots about it on here, and I'm assuming it's because I've gone back and looked at something since I left there, because definitely don't have to promote it to me. I know what it's about, but I'm looking forward to seeing what he's doing, and how that works, because it's fascinating. But I'm on the tail end of mine. I wanted to be on the board to add support, and partially because I have loved promoting tours and promoting events and everything all my life, and this gives me a chance to maybe add some some inputs and some ideas and things, but I'm learning a whole lot more than I expected to.
So with any type of ad that we do, I don't care if it's print, billboard, whatever, we're going to try to discuss it with the tracking. Because you don't know, you can get out of something that you're tracking.
That's one thing that's missing right now.
Yes.
If you wanted to do a billboard, we're going to talk about the pros and cons.
Sure.
I lend my advice, and I will listen to you. But we put an unpublished URL on the billboard or something, or some phrase that is not in your current campaign or tagline or something. So if they Google it, or if they type in that URL,
Yeah.
we had hit in the analytics, we know they saw that. Same thing for print ads, anything that's non-digital, where we have a cookie or something like that, where we really track.
Yeah.
When I've done that in the past, I have to say that we get very, very, very small returns on those. We help publish, for instance, the Shoot Awards. They print 100,000 copies of their visitor guide, and they've been doing it forever. How effective is this? Where are people using it? We put this is like 4 or 5 years ago, we put a contest right on the cover. Free vacation, free vacation. All you have to do is text this number to enter. And of the 100,000 guides, I think we got, I want to say 30 people.
Wow.
It was ridiculously small.
Wow.
Like an insanely small number. It was almost unmeasurable.
So what did the free vacation get them? What did that?
I mean, it was everything.
Everything.
Well, they had to get there. They didn't travel there, but all the different attractions cost.
Yeah.
The tickets, the bridge, the train. The lodging was all paid for, the meals were all paid for.
Amanda?
I'd be
Are you
pretty
okay?
into
Yeah.
putting
It's
together
been a
something
day.
like that for Trinidad. I won one of those Carbondale back in the day, and it was a blast. And I mean, I made my share of it. So, especially online, it's an easy way to get a ton of traction. And in particular, building, we're basically starting from scratch on social. And so to build that following, I mean, giveaways are like an easy.
Let's implement our new visitor guide and see how it does.
Yeah, and we did, and we can work with Cone to do something like that, and we can have, it's funny, I always loved QR codes, and nobody used them, and it was super popular in Asia, in Japan. And then COVID hit, and now everybody knows how to use
Yeah,
it.
it's over.
Yeah.
That's all right. I
And
mean,
a lot of the brochures in the Welcome Center now are QR codes,
That's
so we've
neat.
lost probably, I want to say 15% of the print brochures are now QR codes.
So that's one of the digital, and the way to even start tracking some of the traditionals is what's fascinating to me too. When I first started in radio, we won't even talk about how long ago, the way you could find out, who was listening to your radio station was go through the parking lot of the mall and look at the dial. They weren't digital, they were, and you just could see where it was, mark it down,
Wow.
and do things. So that's how.
That's when they actually had, like,
Yes.
actual dials.
Right across, so that's how far back I go. Now, on billboards, it's always, I've always wished for a way to see how they do work, but I've always used mine as a simple trigger in the mind, not to try to sell a whole message, just something to make them think. We did place one before the change of the boards south of Raton, which just says Trinidad experience the magic. And they did have the website down below if they wanted to look that much further, but they were fixing to drive through Trinidad.
Yeah.
And I based that simply on when I was younger, back in the dark ages, we would drive through here, and my mom would always say, Cecil, we need to stop. Cecil would that. We need to stop there. It's such a cute little town. Well, then he said, okay, when we come back, because he was already plowing through. Well, it would be dark when you come back, so we would never stop. So I kept thinking, man, if we could just make people think driving from Amarillo, something that says almost in a broken window, something like that. So that's the only way that I've ever felt billboards were really good if you simply used them to trigger a thought. If you can get them to go to, to the website, if you get them to do something, because you don't have to, that long.
I mean, if you guys had $10 million budget, you can experiment.
Yeah.
Can we see?
Ask the residents.
Oh, man.
You probably want to not experiment. I'm Brian.
Hi, I'm Amanda.
Hi, Amanda.
I slid off the road in my neighborhood and had to wait for a tractor to come
Here's
across.
a piece of paper.
And this is the dog we got from my father-in-law, so we just got him 2 days ago and he doesn't listen yet.
Okay, we haven't heard from Ashley.
Oh,
Well, I guess Marty.
That's okay, go to Ashley.
no, I just, I don't know much about marketing. I'm a manager of people, but I imagine we just need to get people off the interstate. A lot of people go through here on the interstate, just need to really pull them off. I'd like to focus on being sustainable. I don't wanna grow too fast. You know, that's optimistic, I know that. I wanna make sure that we're at the right pace for us so that we can keep up with the demand and make the improvements, you know, because we improve things through our quality of life. That tourism will grow as well.
Do you have a specific goal, metric in mind for growth rate?
Ooh, we do, well, for revenues, I
We
think.
did
Or for
say
revenue or
goals.
for actual economic growth?
We did it with lodging tax.
Yeah, we did.
What is it?
So, our general goals, so this was from a board retreat we held, and just so you know, also, this is an all-new board. And we wrote the city ordinance that allows us to spend our lodging tax money on some additional things and not specifically just marketing and advertising. The biggest impact there is we are hopeful to be able to promote other things that are good for quality of life, which I heard a couple other people mention. But things that connect in and out of downtown, events, trails, things that would be attractive to tourists, but also to locals. So anyway, board retreat, new board, general goals were promote the city center over the region generally, Fisher's Peak and the lake parks, history and architecture, the Riverwalk, and I can email you this whole list. Festivals and events, we want to get city-owned and administrated events going. The art scene, we have first Friday every month, music and performing arts. We would like to boost winter traffic, so that's not a hard goal, but just seeing that increase year over year during the winter months. Grow lodging tax revenues, specifically, we were looking for 2024, just any positive growth in good revenues and visitor count. And we'd like to secure 3 to 5 grants in the 6-figure totals. For 2025, we want a specific winter campaign running December through March. So yeah, I don't think we have had a hard revenue goal. Right now, we're keeping things kind of easy for ourselves where we just want that positive trend.
And then are you also asking about number of tourist goals as well?
They generally correlate.
Right.
Sure.
I think what
If
Ashley
you had,
said.
if you had specific actual numbers.
Well, so actually, I'd love, based on your experience, maybe you can talk to the group a little bit. To me, we have kind of a really unique opportunity here in Trinidad. I think there's no doubt we're going to pop at some point and get discovered. But in the meantime, we kind of have this time in the ether that we can plan locally that I'm not sure Durango, Salida had that opportunity like we do before they started getting influxed with 10,000 people a day.
It probably hit them before well, I know it did actually. It was before they even knew what it was.
Right. Yeah, because I grew up in the Denver area, and we actually would go through Salida all the time, and it was no big deal. You know, there was one place up there that made light bulbs into islands as art, and that was a big deal. But then it just seems like all of a sudden people discovered it, Denver got expensive, people started moving there, and I just don't want to be caught in a situation where we have what we're wishing for and getting tourists here, but we're not prepared and ready to accommodate them.
Yeah, I was gonna echo that too, when Ashley mentioned growing sustainably, because part of that is the local sentiment and the tourism advocacy that you're speaking of, but part of that is also, if we go out and promote things and someone shows up here and half of Main Street is closed that day, that's something that happens. I mean, people are closed during the RAD when there's 1,000 people here. And so we have to be doing that local groundwork so there's a positive experience for the people who show up. So like, yeah, we can do everything right on the marketing side, but it could backfire if they end up having a negative experience.
Yeah, engagement. Engagement is a really big deal. I think this whole community is like feast or famine historically. So people tend to be, it is what it is, and the whole city runs on Facebook. I can't tell you how many times there's stuff scheduled and they go, oh, if I'd have known about it,
Well, how else are we supposed to get it out? So if we have more community engagement from the businesses that, you know, there's great opportunity to partner together, to do something, looking at what kind of events are coming out. We have this fantastic strategic business plan that's gonna be coming out, and no city manager's ever done that. And we can dovetail into that plan, and the businesses should follow right behind and go, oh, okay, what's coming up? That would be ideal.
I'm not sure if it's in your purview, but community sentiment is important, and I believe that we need an education proponent to that, because like we said, they don't know what our function is. They don't understand what we're supposed to be doing. They don't see the value in what we're doing, and we need to change that. And we need to help the residents to understand that tourism is not gonna take anything away from them.
Yeah.
That's.
No, it only helps, really. I mean, if you built the wall and kept everybody out, you know, every household in this community probably has to pay an extra $1,000 tax. I don't know the exact number, but it's usually way more than anybody wants.
There's a lady in town that's been kind of dubbed the Trinidad or something, Facebook, getting things out, that knows, you know, a lot of this stuff. And I was shocked. She came up to me after the election and the tax issue was defeated.
We attempted to raise our lodging tax.
It was relatively close.
Just city, yeah.
Yes. And she said, I would have voted for that, but, you know, I heard, you know, the incoming mayor, I heard the incoming mayor saying that it was gonna help us, and things that are gonna help us too. Well, that's true. That helps the overall thing, you know, if you got it, like Steve, you got to have it ready.
She was assuming what.
And she didn't understand that, and it's like, of all people, she should have understood that, you know, and all I do is explain to her, I said, if we fix this and that and this with tourism dollars, and the tourists like it, there's more gonna come back, and we get to enjoy it too. She said, well, I never thought about it that way.
So, quick question, the whole town runs on Facebook, is that what you said?
Yeah.
So, when you mean residents, businesses, or?
For the most part. Well, there is a large section of population that does not go onto Facebook. The average age, I think someone said here in Trinidad is like 62. So I'm not 100% sure that they're on Facebook. So if we figure out a way to communicate with those people as well,
I
that would
think
be great.
a lot of the functionality of letting people know events, you know, all that kind of stuff lands on the chamber. But it's not just this
Are
chamber.
you with the chamber?
I was.
Okay.
But there are lots of rural chambers that are not functional. This one has tried to get functional several times, and God bless Pat Hallett, I hope he can get there. It's just a lot of the roles that are assumed to be with the chamber are not necessarily up and running here. So I think that's one of the reasons that Facebook, is that a pretty fair assessment? I think that Facebook is the go-to.
Yeah, there's a
It fills a
voice.
lot of gaps.
Yeah,
It fills a lot of gaps.
it does.
Yeah.
Like, we don't have really any official community events calendar, which is something we need to work hard on. And traditionally, maybe the chamber would do that, the newspaper might do that. I wish we had a publication like the Alibi in Albuquerque or Westward, that type of thing.
Legends was really good. Their calendar was really good.
New Legends, yeah.
Yeah, they don't exist.
We are redoing the website, the tourism website right now, and we
Okay.
should have that up and running in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah.
And that does have a calendar on it that we can push out. It shouldn't have gone down.
You know, the marketing for the theater is so difficult because there isn't anything but Facebook.
Yeah.
So it's, our executive director uses it a lot.
She's good at it.
We put out flyers, you know, run an ad in the newspaper that's, you know, I think up to here in the, you know, wedding, underground, and they're, and then the radio, you know, Radio House, oddly enough, Lisa Cabrillo from Phil Long, you know, she says radio in this town works, because there's not anything, you can't do TV, and it's tough.
So community calendar. So the tourism website, I mean, so the goal would be bring people in, right? Make this a destination, get them to spend the night, get them to spend money, time. So the tourism, I guess we could entertain having everything on there, but I don't know that you want like the Elks dinner and, the spaghetti fundraiser for the high school football team and stuff like that.
Right, it's an event calendar for the most part, but like major events, like theater, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's typically the chamber has a separate calendar
Yeah.
that
Yes.
then talks about all this other stuff.
Yes. That's the
Um,
business component of it.
now, yeah, I forgot who, somebody mentioned like the businesses themselves, and interaction and cooperation with everybody else, and you don't feel like everybody's on the same page in terms of businesses, like they close or they.
Well, the challenge is a lot of our downtown businesses are just independently owned. In fact, all of them are. And so what that means is usually the owner is the one who's staffing and operating it. And of course, they deserve a weekend. So oftentimes, sometimes a lot of our downtown restaurants are closed on Monday and Tuesdays, for example. So if someone comes and wants to have an experience, they may get frustrated that there's no place to eat downtown, depending on when they're here. And that's no fault of the businesses, but that is something that I'd love to partner with them on to see if we can come up with some ideas.
Can we give some kind of incentive if we stay open on this for summer months or
That'd be
something?
terrific.
Or maybe they
Or on
would-
event days, yeah. There's,
You get extra promotion, or I don't know.
there's a number of them also that they've been here forever,
Yeah.
they have little to no mortgage or rents, and they don't even need to be open.
That's
It's almost a hobbyist business, it's
Yeah.
just what
Yeah.
they do, so they don't really have that same level of vested interest in placemaking or in having that like experiential thing of this is a vibrant Main Street.
But soon, they will.
Yeah.
Right? It'll pass on to their kids, or they'll sell it or something, and those people will want to, they'll have a
That's-
mortgage.
I mean, there's,
It's slow.
They're not gonna sell it, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, and I hesitate to even say this, but I would say from people like Chase or myself who have come in relatively recently, there's certainly an aspect of like, yeah, the town's so old, soon they're gonna start like dying. And that sounds horrible. It sounds horrible, and like, I'm not wishing for that to happen, but we need an attitude shift. That's what it boils down to, right? It's like, you can't just, I think Amanda mentioned like, there's a ton of people who it's like, the attitude, that's the way it is, right? And that's just not true. It's not always the way it is.
Like, it's a terrible segue, but I was wondering how many of these businesses want or need some sort of training, if you will, on.
But want and need are two different things, right?
Yes, they absolutely are, because some of them won't want it or care one bit.
I thought about it, like, because we were talking about promoting local businesses, and
Yeah.
what if we made them go through some training? And if a certain amount of people go through some actual hospitality training, and then
So
we'll
we
working.
And
did
they
it.
just come to the stakeholder meeting?
Well, even beyond hospitality, but, people are driving into town, they want to find a place to eat. Google says, they're open.
Yeah, and we do have that here.
Right.
They drive down to them and open for
Stuff, yeah.
2 weeks. Getting them to understand that they can take control of that listing. They can list their hours, and they can say they're closed, and then of course, all the different social platforms. It's a lot of work. It's a big ask to ask these small businesses.
It is.
who-
And if they've been owned 3 generations.
Yeah, and then I say, why do I need to do that? I've been here for
Well, they
30
may not
years.
even know they need it, right?
Some
Some
people
don't
do.
have a website.
Yeah,
No
website,
website.
It's true.
There's no online
Yeah.
menu, and that would make it.
I've had tourism boards that have volunteers that get with the restaurants every week and publish are they gonna be open or closed this week? And here's the guide.
Wow.
But it takes an actual volunteer to walk around and talk every week.
A volunteer.
Well, or more than one.
I wonder if we could have a conversation with restaurants
Yeah, it does.
particularly, but
Doesn't it?
I
Well,
wonder
the
if they'd be
ambassadors.
willing to stagger maybe their days
One
that
day,
are
one
closed.
day, one just-
Right, so that way it's not always the same day, and at least there's options every day. If you may be craving the smokehouse and it's not a day for that, but at least you have 3 other choices you can go to.
And of course, these are big picture things.
They
They
are.
don't happen overnight, but they're all considerations.
But yeah, I think the overall concern is we want people to come here, but we also don't want them to leave and never want to come back because they had such a horrible experience.
So the flip side is, the more people that show up,
Yeah.
drive a demand for these businesses, and then maybe the 30-year-old folks that have held it for 30 years don't care, but somebody's gonna say, maybe we should stay open, this extra day, because there's all these people in town.
Or want to open a new business.
Or open a whole new one, yeah, absolutely.
On lodging tax,
Yeah.
are you able to break it down by day, by chance?
No, it's just by quarter. So we get the quarterly report, and it's just a report that encapsulates everything for that 3-month period.
I have a theory, that
Yeah.
during the week, it's
Yeah.
much slower downtown for businesses from locals, but
Yeah.
it's busier from tourists, because a lot of them are probably going somewhere else for the
That's
weekend, and we
true.
get some of
That's
the
true.
we get more of the middle of the week
I think
stays in traffic, and I would love if there was a way.
You looking for some kind of a flow of what days the hotels are filling up?
Yeah, because there's like a Friday or Saturday, they might be going to a bigger brand
Yeah.
town, and they're passing through on Monday, Wednesday, Sunday, days like that, which are the days that things aren't open as much, so.
That's terrific data. to have.
That's something we should,
Because I see that a lot on those days where it's slower from the locals, but everyone I talk to.
Sorry if it's
reports.
bothering you.
You probably get similar intel from the cell phone tracker.
Sure. Yeah, you can, but the data's expensive if you can't get it.
Well,
from
we
someone
have
else.
access to
We
it,
have one.
so
The CTO is sharing some of that right now with his office.
we should be able to get some of that information from the hoteliers. We have a hotelier that's saying,
Do they cooperate? A lot of communities, they don't.
Well, that's the problem. I think we get some anecdotal information on trends, but I guess I'd be surprised. And have you ever seen it in other communities where hotels are willing to show their occupancy rates like that?
They don't.
I think that'd be really difficult. They don't want to because,
Well, the funny thing is they actually already report it. The data gets sent
yeah.
out and then you can buy it back from other firms. I don't know why they don't want to just give it to you.
Yeah, that'd be great. I mean, we could take the lodging tax reports we're getting and divide it by the number of days and get an average, but that doesn't help to your point of which days, are busier than others.
It would help sell the,
Absolutely. So we could drive by and count the cars in the parking lot.
look at the radio.
So I need to understand the lodging tax picture a little bit. So does the county collect county just have zero lodging
I don't
tax?
think they do. And counties have, I think, a 2% cap, I want to say.
It is a 2% cap?
And then they have specific mandates for what they can use it for, and it's a lot of social service types of things.
No, it's,
Is that not right?
the old statute was purely marketing and advertising.
Yeah.
Now it's housing and
If-
childcare.
If the county the state, it changed at the state level and said now you can pay for childcare for seasonal workers, you can help out with affordable housing. But in order to use it in that purpose, the county then has to also take it to a vote and adopt that.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's still just marketing.
Yeah, Pueblo just had a ballot question for childcare, I think, for county.
Yeah. Okay, so you guys are your own, home rule?
Yeah. Yes, we
So
are.
you've got your city tax, but you put it to vote.
Yeah.
And you don't have a candidate, okay, that's interesting. It's just purely the city's own tax?
Revenue stream, yeah.
Has anyone ever thought about like a marketing district tax, local marketing district, or a tourism improvement district? There's about 2 others.
So, yeah, I mean, we can definitely go down that path. Where we're at right now is our lodging tax is at 3%, which is low. So we asked the voters in November if they would approve a 3% increase, 6%, which is still definitely in the ballpark of regionally what other cities are doing. We have, a conservative community that all they see is shall taxes be increased.
And then they don't know.
So we want to, and admittedly, we could have done some more to actually, promote it. We kind of got behind the times and
it
everything.
wasn't too bad for the first go for a tax bump.
I thought so too. I mean, I think we put out a
was it
voter
maybe
guide.
like 60%?
It was like, I think it was under 60-40, it was like 57.
It was closer than I thought
Yeah,
it would
it
be.
wasn't too far off.
So now we have an entire year to get it back on the ballot and do some educational promotions of it, so it's, you know, we're gonna try it again in 2024.
There's only a 50% turnout too.
Yeah,
And being that next year's a presidential
That's a
election,
good
we're gonna have a
point.
much larger
Yes.
turnout.
Very good point.
that's a really good
And
one.
we're looking at, what, I think it's about $500,000 revenues.
Yeah, we budget around $500,000 in current revenues, and
So
then,
double.
yeah. Then council restructured the ordinance back last spring. There were a lot of problems with the old ordinance. It had been in existence since 2001. So many things on the administrative side, particularly our ability to audit hotels and ensure they're reporting lodging tax correctly. We have a lot more authority now. But as far as how it's spent, we've essentially created some buckets. And so 35% of it, the highest percentage, goes to marketing and advertising. 30% goes to parks, recreation, outdoor recreation, quality of life initiatives. 20% goes to staffing to support our tourism efforts. 10% of it goes to arts and cultural events. And then there's 5% left over that is just in a miscellaneous bucket that can be allocated for any of those buckets or any other thing.
I mean, who knows, we're just randomly going, if you ever consider the marketing, the local marketing district, you get to draw the district lines.
Yeah.
And so the trick there, I mean, I'm just putting it out there because it's ever considered,
Yeah.
is don't do it for the whole county or some big giant geographic area. Do it right where, like down Main Street, or right down where the hotels are at.
Okay.
That way you can walk door to door, shake their hand and say, okay, you're gonna get this notice, you're gonna get to vote on it, because then anybody outside the district doesn't have to vote.
Right.
You get 100 people to vote,
Bam.
90 of them vote yes, and it works. So, you know.
Who has a district like that right now?
Well, Alamosa, that's for instance, so they're right next door. They did the whole county though.
Yeah.
I don't know how they did that, but they're, I think the total is 6% retired county.
Okay, for that marketing.
Don't let
And
it
they
go.
collect lodging tax as well.
Yeah, but so the hotels are still responsible for the tax collection.
We had a sentiment from some of our hotels, just again anecdotal feedback, that raising lodging tax would impact the number of people that stay. We disagree. We don't feel like people actually look at that on their bill. And
No,
even still,
they
6%
do
is not
not.
a reason.
And every single hotel has that argument, and it's the
I
most
know.
ridiculous thing yet.
Yeah, right.
I mean, Denver's got
$2
like
if you drive to Wall
That's what I
Street.
think.
Not when
too.
it's that low.
Denver's got like 15%.
I know.
It's huge.
It is.
Still lower than Airbnb right now.
Right?
And speaking of Airbnb, so does the city then collect from Airbnb?
We do,
Okay, perfect.
but
But
not
not
Airbnb. Oh, and that's a national thing.
They just won't do it.
Yeah.
They'll do it at the county.
Well,
taxes.
again, under our new structure on our lodging tax ordinance, now we actually have a lot more enforcement, so I'm ready to stick it to VRBO. I don't know how many we even have here, but.
It might surprise you. Airbnb is gonna be big.
And the other thing is, there's also some Airbnbs that I'm a little concerned about, that whether they're reporting, because they should, any short-term rentals. I think that teepee camp, for example, if you're going and renting a teepee, we should be getting lodging tax on that as well. So we have some work to do to ensure we're collecting, you know, even our current at the full level, but.
How far out is that?
What's
The
that?
city limits?
Yeah, just the municipal limits. So a good example, I'm glad you asked that, is Tower 64, that hotel. That's not in our city limits. So a lot of people are staying there to come through Trinidad, but we don't get lodging tax on that.
So
So
hotel or an RV park?
with both.
Is it really?
And you can rent rooms where you can smoke marijuana.
Does that mean that the Holiday Inn is not?
Holiday Inn is, it's
It's
just,
just across the street.
I know, the way the annexations have been,
And the ones on the other side of the interstate?
they are too, yeah.
That's weird.
It's
But
weird.
the travel lodge on the, over by Tequila's on the other side, that's out.
Yeah,
It's weird.
it's the budget host now.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, logistical questions.
Yeah.
Who's, Marty, are you our primary point of contact?
Yes.
Marty's the liaison, absolutely, between, for now, and I think that she's the perfect person to contact and kind of be that ombudsman type of position.
So there'll be, we will get with you then to do kind of more mundane detail onboarding for account access and passwords and credentials and on
And I think this is just my suggestion, I would love to see you all maybe appoint a subcommittee, so that way you guys can meet outside the context of a formally advertised meeting to work directly with them, so that way your perspective is 100% part of the process.
Yeah, and there can be several, depending on the topics. You know,
Absolutely.
Maybe it's a social committee, maybe it's a
Sure,
website committee.
we can break it up like that too,
Whatever.
It can only be two then, Rick.
Yeah, there's 5 of you, so quorum would be 3 of you, but 2 of you can get together and tag team and do some individual work.
Are you allowed to vote electronically?
I mean, so, like if you were on a Zoom call or something like that?
Yeah, or via
Yes.
email, because sometimes maybe we present something and you go, well, the board needs to vote on this, and then we gotta wait a month.
We can't vote by email.
We meet bi-weekly.
Yeah.
We do
Okay,
like a
that's all right.
survey.
No, final decisions have to be made in the context of a public meeting, that's per open meeting statute. But the good thing is, these guys are so accommodating, if there's something that needs to get urgently done, we can even set up a Zoom call and just take the vote like that, so you guys don't even have to come in. But
Could you send a list, like your standard list of onboarding access and stuff? Because
yeah, that's
I have a feeling a decent chunk is gonna be MIA. For example, we just got Google Analytics on the main Trinidad website in the last like 6 months.
Okay, that is on the list.
Yeah, so there may be other things like that
that'd
they
be
may
great.
not even have stood up yet.
Not to get too technical, was it GA4 or is it the old?
GA4, I did.
Doesn't have to be done, it's brand new, so.
No one likes it and it's
Yeah,
really
it's
hard to
garbage,
use,
so
but
that's-
it's all you
yeah,
have.
it's awesome.
That's all
I can't believe that they're just sticking with it.
Yeah, I keep changing directions. So what we do with GA4, so they're not gonna save data longer than a year. So what we like to do is we have a secondary service where it's going to house the data past a year, because it's not gonna do you guys any good. You wanna compare some year-to-date data. We use what's called BigQuery to do that. And then we also use 2 other services. We use Supermetrics that are gonna collate all the data from any kind of platform that you have. This is all digital, of course, but whether it's Instagram or Facebook or Insights or YouTube or whatever, we'll collate all of that via Supermetrics. And then we also use then another tool from Google's Google Looker Studio, and that will present the reports so that we have all the data in one spot. You'll be able to log in and check it out. You don't have to know GA4, because it'll present it in a way that you can look at and make sense, and you get in there and turn it on. So, but that's the kind of stuff that we'll go over with you. Once things are rolling, let's say 6 months down the road, we're going to end up having a monthly meeting with probably Marty and say, here's everything. I mean, we'll give you an hour worth of stuff that will be mind-numbing and hard to follow, and we'll explain it all. And then we can take tidbits back to the board and say, here are the highlights, you know, and we'll have an ongoing deck that, you know, for each month or everything that you see that we can present.
So what type of reports do you need? I mean, do you need like the Dean Runyon studies? Do you need Longwoods? Do you need, what do you need?
If you guys did, I've got access to all of those,
Okay.
I need those. But if you have anything that you did internally here, like you did a survey, a
We did
resident
resident
sentiment
sentiment
survey, if you did that, I'd
We
like
did
to see it.
Visitor survey, we did,
Mhm.
oh gosh, everything that CTO put out.
Anything that you guys
Yeah.
did for Trinidad,
Okay.
share with me so we can evaluate it.
Okay.
Have you already talked about destination blueprint and how that might integrate with what you're doing?
We have not talked about it.
Okay.
That's on my list.
Talk away.
Okay, so, collaboration with CTO and the different programs that we're collaborating with them on. Our destination blueprint, destination stewardship. We also are involved with Care for Colorado, Leave No Trace.
Destination Colorado, would that end?
That is coming forth, so Destination Colorado, but that's not really a CTO program. It's an extension somehow.
Do they never use
Ashley,
the thesaurus to come up with a different word than destination?
I don't know, it's a new thing. Destination's the thing these days.
So, just real quick, Beth Wright, whom you guys worked with, her and I worked together. But after she got out of the meeting that you guys did here, was on the highway and called me. So we talked for an hour about what happened here
Oh,
in that
wow.
meeting. She goes, so she knew that we were gonna be coming on, and she's ready to collaborate and organize so that whatever we're doing doesn't overlap with the hours and technical services she
Right, so
provides.
she's, yeah, the 100 hours will start.
She's
Yeah,
our
so-
mentor for Virginia.
So we can, yeah, so her and I will coordinate on that so that if, like, we wanna provide something, she's not doing it, vice versa, or she helps us with something.
Yeah, she shared that with me, so, yeah. Probably right after she got off the call with you.
Maybe so,
I
yeah.
just talked to Brian, he's like, oh, okay.
We're Travis fast. Is that technically the blueprint
That's
program?
Destination Blueprint, yes.
Okay. They have a lot of different similarly named things that I
Yes.
sometimes get used
So we
We
didn't
start with
participate in the
destination.
reimagine and the
to start.
restart.
It's not ours.
We did through Canyons and Plains, but we didn't independently.
Oh, you did both?
We didn't do it
Oh, did
independently,
not.
but we did do it through Canyons and Plains.
Okay, all right. So did you work with like Rick Wallner and?
Yes,
Pam?
so I'm on that board. I'm
Pam?
on the Canyons
Oh.
and Plains board.
Okay, perfect. So we just finished their website,
Right.
6 months or so.
Yeah.
It's almost over. If you
Um,
wanna go, you can set it down and I'll put it on the table.
Care for Colorado, Mark Bowman and
Mark Bowman.
all that. I mean, no problem. You guys are members.
Andrew, what's Andrew's last name with?
Grossman.
No, that's CTO, I'm talking Leave No Trace in Carroll, Colorado. I
Oh,
think it's
that-
LNT. Andrew Liebman? No, can't remember his name. Anyway, so there's that too.
Now tell me who Destination Colorado is.
Destination Colorado is Marie Houston? Huston.
I don't know. Well, what do they do?
So Destination Colorado basically is you put your information out there with them and they promote you to all the different, at all the different conferences and stuff that they have throughout the nation, actually, to bring people to your area for conferences or conventions or those types of things. That is Destination Colorado.
That is also I would have that as one of our probably main goals as well, as to start attracting
Is to bring in-
small scale gatherings like that. You know, obviously we're not gonna have huge conventions here, but things of up to a few hundred people that meet annually.
Yeah.
Tour Colorado is another one that we just became members of.
Okay.
And looking at those specific tourism industries that would bring them to this community, whether it's arts or architecture or history or byways or, I mean, we have 2 byways, so.
And I can't remember her name, the rep for, because I just met her.
Lynette, or Lenore
Lenore Bates?
Bates.
Yeah. Okay.
And Charlotte Bumgarner.
Oh, how do you associate with Charlotte?
Byways.
Oh, the virus, of course. Yeah. She gets a lot of grant money.
Yeah, she does.
Somehow, I don't know how she does it. Are you the one that's going to be, are you working with her on, the travel stories grant that she just
Well, so
asked
we have a
about?
Travel Stories app right now on the Highway of Legends.
Yeah, I helped with that.
Right, yeah, so we do have that. She's trying to get it for other locations. I don't know if we'll do it independently for, I mean, that's our byway app.
Yeah.
I don't know, Travel Stories, I know Walsenburg did the Travel Stories for their,
We did the walking
yeah,
tour.
the walking tour. We do have an architectural walking tour that we developed. It's on the website, you can find it on there.
We just did one for another driving tour as well. Okay. We're doing a lot of random talking here, which is fine, this is great. I have pages of notes. Legal stuff, contract, any word from an attorney?
Steve should have a signed contract for you. I asked him if he would bring it with him today, so that should be done.
Alright.
Start date?
Start date, we said January 1st?
Yep.
Okay, great. And that's what I anticipated. Okay, so a big part of what we like to do is bring staff here for 3 days or something like that. So we just call it an immersion trip, a discovery trip or something like that. When do you think is a great time to do that? So, you know, the goals for us are we want to meet a lot of people, tours of stakeholders, elected officials, business owners. We want to see things that you're proud of, the attractions, places to go, places you want people to visit. And basically just be able to come out of this and talk like the local, present ourselves as a friend.
Yeah, unfortunately, Trinidad shines in the summer. I mean, that's the story in mountain towns everywhere. But we'll have to move sooner than that. So,
So I mean, there's,
as long as it's post holidays, people should be around.
it doesn't have to be decided today. I'm just putting it out there so you can start thinking about when.
Yeah, how much after this, your start date, would it still be appropriate? How long?
Well, it really depends on what you want to get out of it. For instance, if you had no photos and nothing and you had to just create a website right away, maybe we want to gather photos during the immersion trip. If you have that and the website's already done, it sounds urgent. But we still, if we're going to start running social stuff, we need to understand.
This website's supposed to launch for 6 months, so I don't know really about it. Honestly, we might need your help getting it live.
That was in the RFQ too. It's
There's
last on my.
it's on WordPress, there's a new WordPress theme, it looks pretty nice, but
Yeah, it's not a bad site.
the person who do it is just very busy.
Is it a local kind of?
That is a city position. She's the communications.
Oh, it's actually the city doing it.
Yes.
Can we
She'll be pretty key for you. Also, her name is Lisa Rock, ANISSA. So yeah, she's the point person on social and the web.
Getting access to stuff.
Yeah, so she'll have most of those keys, I think. And I'm sure Marty will speak for her more.
And what is her role social?
So she runs the city.
Communications?
Yeah.
She likes PIO for the city? Or?
Communications director, just making graphics, sharing information publicly.
Yeah, so generally, I think the roles intended to be sharing like city-related things versus a marketing position.
It's like Visit Trinidad, Colorado, that's the website,
Yeah.
social media accounts, it would like you guys to take that over.
Okay, so,
Because
okay.
it's kind of an afterthought at the moment.
Yeah, there's just,
So the city's really, they're the ones that kind of have this, the keys to that.
correct, and they're not doing much with it.
Yes, it's being protected, more than it should from anybody, including us.
Okay. I will probably need some political help with that.
Hey,
Or whatever you want to call
We
it.
have your back, we're.
Yeah.
I mean,
What
the
are
fact
the
of the matter
reasons?
is, now that we are spending money like this on an agency, I mean, to me, that's already enough to start tipping over some of the resistance, where it's like, too bad, like, hand it over.
She's-
Jill and I
I'm not gonna
volunteered
stand
to
over.
run ads on Google and Facebook 6 months ago, and they never gave us access to do it. We're gonna run it for free, because that's what he focuses on Google, and I do Facebook, Instagram, SEO, kind of stuff. And
Maybe a
they never gave us
recommendation
access.
from you to have more control directly with us on that.
Yeah,
Just-
I mean,
Well, I think she just, her thought, there was a miscommunication somewhere, because she was expecting to get things to put on there, and they were expecting to be able to post things themselves. So the communication fell through on that. Steve said he would help with that. He said that we could get you guys in a room to do whatever you had to do, so Steve can be a facilitator for that for sure.
we'll make sure you get access. I'm a little.
We'll get it.
I did some.
At least she's here. We've had, we worked with one place and in fact, her name was Anissa. That's her. I was like, oh no. But she's not even in the same state, so I wasn't. And she was the owner admin of this social accounts. We couldn't find her. You can't call
I've been
1-800.
there, yeah.
You can't call 1-800 Facebook and say,
Yeah.
oh, guess what? No, you can't. And it was a big long process. We finally got it. Okay, as long as she's here, she's got everything. What would be good is, you know, for instance, for social accounts, we'll have to be on there as admins, but let's get somebody who's a permanent fixture in the tourism world on there as admin. So you can never lose it. There has to be several owners on there that, that's the important thing to do. Google's easier. Google is worried about. That's a lot easier. Although some of the two-factor authentication stuff is these days, we'll figure it out.
I have analytics.
What's that?
I have the analytics.
Okay, alright. Let's see. You were out the room and we were talking about an immersion trip and discovery trip to come down, the best times of the year and thoughts about who to meet and where to go and stuff like that.
Okay, let me put something together.
Well-
All of us, we can put together a list.
Yeah, so I guess be thinking about who are the best people to meet outside of this room, obviously.
Right.
The city officials, county officials, business owners, somebody that's really involved and wants to help, you know?
Right.
I don't mind,
Community leaders.
yeah, community leaders. I like hearing the flip side, the people that have the opposite opinion and everything, but
Right.
maybe we save that for later down the road. We'll address that later. Let's see.
Send you the mooses.
Is she active on Facebook? That's all I
I
gotta know.
She is.
Let's see,
Yeah.
another thing that you guys talked about, I guess, is, like itinerary development. You know, give visitors, don't make them hunt everything down. Here's your 1-day itinerary, here's your afternoon, here's your 3-day itinerary. So that's something that we can do, we can do it virtually, is talking to everybody, but we can also do it based on our findings.
So let me ask you something, what is your experience with developing itineraries that have specific places for them to eat,
Mhm.
sleep,
Yes, so.
shop?
By fun.
Well, that's actually very popular. I saw 4 in a row. Right down the street. So the CTO, number one, if you want to publish your itineraries with them, that is their requirement, actually.
Right.
You have to specify a place to eat.
Right,
So what we normally do is we create quite a few of them, right? You create, eat at Joe's, eat at Jane's, eat at Bob's.
it's just so hard, and you get so much negative feedback because you're picking and choosing above another.
Oh, yeah.
Well, have they taken the hospitality class?
I mean,
It's
that's
a
also,
requirement.
that's also why we were talking about doing the registration form. So basically, your web sign up form, if you want to be promoted, you have to complete this and provide a handful of assets, or else you're just off the list. So it's an easy way to just be able to point when someone says, why am I not being promoted, to say, you never raise your hand.
Do
You
you,
want to play in the sandbox.
is the new website have a business directory?
It does not.
That's okay, they're really hard to maintain. If you don't
Um,
want one.
We're trying to convince the Chamber of Commerce to put together a business directory.
It's more appropriate.
They do have,
And
City should.
the Commerce does have one.
Jim? It
they
has one,
do,
it's
but
for
it's
them.
only members, it's members
Oh,
only.
sure,
So
sure.
what they're trying to do is they're trying to populate their membership or to, increase their membership by having them listed on the business directory for the chamber.
They're operating a free tier, which got me to sign up, because I did not see much value in chamber
Right,
membership.
so that would be one thing that they can provide. If there's no value in something, they don't want to participate, so we have to have value attached to it.
Joe, the Facebook page that you
I'm sorry,
administer,
what time is supposed to
the
be?
things to do.
Trails.
I'll be open till 7
Willards.
tonight because of the
Is there another one,
travel.
the Trinidad Chatter?
I'm not an admin there. I wish I was.
Well, I thought it had, she got,
He's a
I
top
thought I saw him.
contributor. He's a top
Top
contributor.
contributor.
If he wants to see the,
He's on that too much.
if he wants to see both sides, you know, the stupid people and the not as.
It's true, yeah, if you guys wanna do some real deal research, join the Trinidad chapter.
It's like driving by a car wreck, you can't.
That's
No, that's not a good idea.
Our best
We're
side.
gonna make it 10 o'clock, and
Yeah.
so what was that, where was it? No, we probably will, have to kind of follow those things, types of
It's
things.
a good way to get the local pulse. But
Because
I do feel like in general, our discussion has been very focused on the local aspect, and I just don't want to forget also like we're reaching outwards.
We're at, yeah, well, so the main goal, I did mention, bring people in from Emma, and that will determine where we're spending money, kind of as we run. We talked about, I wrote down all the different types of things that you feel are important, you get your outdoor rec, and your gravel bike, and your lakes, and fishing, and art scene, and all that stuff. So that's gonna determine interest-based targets. In terms of geography, where would you say your top drive markets are right now,
We've done studies on it, Dallas, Houston,
Denver.
Payville's around here. And
Colorado
then
Springs,
Denver,
actually.
it's in Colorado Springs.
I think Albuquerque was on that list.
Amarillo.
Yeah,
It was like,
I have that report, I can send it to you, Brian.
It was
Yeah.
like,
And that's-
it was like 40% Texas, like 45% Colorado, and then New Mexico, and then everywhere else was like 0.02.
Was this from a cell phone or credit card?
It
usage
was,
thing?
yeah, that was from Destination Blueprint.
Okay.
We did a geofencing, we redesigned our geofencing area so that it would include exit 11 because we now have Fisher's Peak out there. Now people are taking that to go to Trinidad Lake State Park, and we have Walmart, and that's like the highest concentration of drivers on Interstate 25 get off at that exit. In fact, there's more at that exit than all the other 3-4 exits that we have in Trinidad, they get off at that exit.
So we gotta fix that.
yeah.
Walmart can't
Give
be
people
the
time
top
to-
tourist attraction.
So from our border tree also, this is not completely data informed, this is maybe more aspirational, but in terms of the persona targeting that we discussed, we were talking about mid to high income bracket, which today the data would say the opposite, a lot of poorer people use Trinidad as a cheap trip, or some of that could be folks who are regional, so if you're looking out like to the eastern counties, they're coming into Trinidad for a night out, for example. But mid to high income bracket, front rangers, Albuquerque and Santa Fe, Texans, specifically, we had called out Amarillo, because it's so close, so for weekend trips. Gen X and millennial, families or retirees / double income, no kids. Then interests would be basically just our activity list that we already talked about of cool things to do.
Well, the thing with people that are in the higher income bracket is they have more time. And they are sometimes very frugal. They don't,
And yeah,
they're not always flying to Paris for a weekend.
Right.
So
No, but they are going to the
they might.
ski towns, is
I've seen a big change in what, honestly, I think ski resorts are really worried about their future.
They're
Should be.
unreal for their passes per day.
Oh yeah, Vail is like $250 for one
one
person
person,
Yeah.
for a
one day.
lift ticket,
Yeah, Taos is $197, and they said they're the cheapest around.
and they probably are.
Unbelievable.
So, but they're worried, climate number one, but the atmosphere what people want, they want an experience that they can get.
Right.
Some people, sure, they're gonna ski every year, but where else can they do this, right?
Right.
And I think those are the type of things we wanna find, and we generally do find during the discovery or whatever, and highlight and bring people here. Oh, that sounds cool. You're gonna find all those kind of niche little things.
yeah.
Well, we don't have skiing, but we can do cross country.
Sure.
I mean, those types
I have
of
a
things.
super
Snowshoe
excited to
races.
show your team around.
Yeah.
It's gonna be fun.
Well, Marty probably knows, but we've been coming here for quite some time, and Lindsay, she's like, I just really want to, I really want to work with Trinidad. So she's said that for ages, so she's super excited. I've wrote a ton of notes. I've been talking for like an hour and a half. What else? What haven't we covered? What are you guys thinking about else?
Here's a question for you. So just like structure, because you guys are like all-encompassing agency, you can do
Yeah.
anything we ask. So is there just like a time limit that you put on this per month, and we kind of decide what we want to focus on, or like how do you usually want to put that?
Yeah. I'm glad you brought that up. So, yes, you have this contract amount, we put it in our proposal. We basically convert that to the time and expenses. And we will track it monthly internally, and you're welcome to ask on the month level, but we generally look at it on an annual basis because everybody's fairly seasonal. So you may need a lot of work right now, and then you don't want to hear from me at all in July and August because you're swamped, right? And then we start back up in September. We don't not stop. Do you know what I mean? It's heavier. So yes, and what I tell people, I'll tell Marty, is just ask us for anything. And if there's anything we can't do or you're hitting a limit of some kind, we're going to convey it to you right away. You'll know far in advance of any limits in time or limits in whatever.
The way that I see it, maybe that's just how I see it, but there's a couple things that we do every month, like some social media stuff and maybe some website updates, and then there's some additional things that'll change.
Yeah,
Is it possibly?
Yeah, I'm getting that picture now. There's things I think that need to happen sort of regularly. Social, for instance, being one of them. Maybe we don't try to do a big journalist media push, like a PR push, maybe once a year or something. Who knows? I don't know what that is yet. We don't worry about the printed visit, like you wouldn't print a visitor guide every week. Yeah, same thing. We prioritize what we do. The low-hanging fruit, like social, we want to hit all the time, for instance. Google's going to be a big part of things. We'll hit that.
One of the things that we need to focus on too, Brian, is off-season marketing. I mean, we need to promote our businesses during the off-season. That's when they suffer the most.
Yeah.
And, in a lot of ways, I feel like that's a shift in strategy where, like, through the busy season, that's when you're promoting, like, the multi-day itineraries and trips and things. During the off-season, it's maybe just focusing on pulling people off the highway or something.
Yeah.
Where it's just kind of a different tag. Because the town definitely gets quiet through the winter.
And quite a few of them do. I wouldn't call this an argument, I'll call it an intellectual debate. But there's nothing to do here in the winter. There's nothing to do. Nobody wants to come here because we don't have any events. I'm like, maybe that's exactly why they would want to come, right? They want to get away from Denver and a 2-hour commute every day and just relax someplace where it's quiet, where they can have some coffee, where they can go to a gallery and just slow down. And I think that's just as appealing as a big attraction or a vacation filled with tons of things to do.
It's like people that go to Europe or
And I think that plays into the summer picture as well, just in that I can go on a trail and not see a soul. Or you can go out on the lake and there will be a motorboat on it some days.
I think you and I are going to get along. I mountain bike a lot. So. And what you just said, when you're out there by yourself, that's what I love.
So is there something that we can promote to our local hotels and our restaurants for promotional things? Like, okay, so how about a weekend stay? Can you put together a package for a weekend stay? You've got a swimming pool, you've got a restaurant in your hotel, things like that. We put together like some type of package or interest them in something. If we could put something together that would interest them on the off season.
We could talk to everyone in town that wants to put in a special on there, and then we have it as a download, and then we get their email addresses to the persons, and then we can email them all.
We do that. We had a lot of success with a giveaway recently that we did. We got a couple lodging properties comp to stay, and Same thing with the restaurants. And then, of course, they got a bunch of exposure when we pushed it out on social. We would do some paid social campaigns so we could get Dallas and get Houston and all that stuff. And we had like, I don't know, this was for wrestling. Yeah, I think like 4,000 or 5,000 people signed up. It was ridiculous. I mean, that's 10 times the population of town. And, you know, two people, there were two winners, you know, because we had a couple different properties that said, well, how come I don't get to participate? Fine. We'll have two properties, and we get two winners, get twice the exposure. I think we spent
Targeting in Texas.
3,000 on the social campaign for something like that, on just the actual paid ads, not any of the creative or anything like that, but just the actual paying Facebook. And we brought in a lot of names, a lot of exposure. I think to your point though about, you know, getting all the businesses to put together a package, think about how you might plan to visit someplace. Sometimes your destination is based on the stay, right, on the hotel. I don't know if that's the case here in Trinidad. I haven't stayed in Trinidad. But I know that most people plan it based on the experience they're going to get. The second thing is the lodging. Sometimes all those other things, the restaurants, the galleries, and all that is just like icing that they get after they're here. You know, so that's why having the guide printed and available in every business. So they get here, they're getting ready to do the big thing. What are we gonna do with the family this afternoon? Oh, well, let's go down here and check this out, or let's do this tour, whatever.
Are you doing anything now, or what are your thoughts on promoting the cannabis industry and you know, something, a unique experience for those people that want to experience you know, the freedom of
The most, let's see, I was in Denver like right after it passed, and this one of those stretch Ford Excursions pulled up, and I was just walking by, and they were taking a tour from dispensary to dispensary, and I'm like, they jumped on this really fast. I said, what a great idea. You don't want to be driving. Everybody's kind of scared, and it's sort of weird. So, I mean, people that smoke probably aren't going to be on this tour normally. But they were tourists. They were from Texas. And they're like, I'm taking this tour. Yeah, so the answer is yes, of course. I mean, you guys are in charge. I don't mind doing it at all. It's a big money maker. It's something that I don't think it's legal in New Mexico, right?
Yeah.
Is it now?
Yes,
So that's why we saw it.
That's hurt us a lot.
It's a big part of the picture of looking towards things like outdoor, because that has been the cash cow for the last 10 years.
I wondered about that. I was on my drive down here, and I was telling my fiance, I said that was a huge cash influx to Trinidad.
There's a paper article this morning on council looking at relief options for dispensaries because they're drying up.
Well, then.
Hell yeah.
Just make it clear here,
Yeah.
not make rude stuff.
I have an excellent location.
Oh, I didn't even notice. That's like a franchise, isn't
It
it?
is, it's in
Yeah.
Denver, we have 6 stores.
International, right?
It's
There's
big.
in Canada.
They sold Canada properties. Yeah.
But yeah, some sort of tour, that again, that's one audience, that's one sort of what I call micro campaign. We reach them and we do a tour or we do something. an
I don't know how
experience.
many of you guys were here when we had the tour bus. Were you here when we had the tour bus?
Briefly,
Yeah.
it was like right when I first got here.
And I mean, it wasn't just a tour bus. I mean, people were getting on and they could smoke, you know, because it was.
So you've done this?
Oh, wow, that's a trip.
Yeah. Yeah, part of us.
Yeah, I do too.
The grow I worked at did tours. So they would come out there and we'd bring them around and show them everything.
What about some sort of agritourism aspect to the?
I really want to work on that.
Yeah.
Because I would like,
Because I think
Something
there's a big
like
grow
that.
facility just north here. I know.
there are growth facilities all around.
I mean, the security's huge. I don't know if you can, I've toured them, but, I mean, they have armed guards.
There's one on El Morro. We have a dispensary on Commerce that has one inside the dispensary, pretty good size. I guess, I don't know if they expanded or not.
As far as agritourism in the community though, it's mostly in the county, both east and west. We do have a farmer's market, we have a co-op, we have, I mean, not a lot of places to tour though, as far as like farmers and ranchers and that type of thing.
We've had a lot of talk about having a farm to table, great big farm to table dinner. I know Joni does it every year.
Yeah, but when she started the Cedar Street urban play, whatever she called it.
Gardens, yeah.
Yeah.
I know what I wanted to ask about. So one of the retreat goals was to get, what'd you say, 3 to 5 grants in the 650 range. Tell me more about that.
Well, I mean, our budget is not enormous, so we're just looking to supplement that wherever we can. So, yeah, I mean, if we go with specific goals, I think a first step is often gonna be, is there a grant that can support this, that can extend, our capabilities?
So I did talk to Andrew at the Destination Blueprint, and he did tell me you need to apply for the marketing grant, tourism,
The
management grant.
yeah.
Right, and then he said, and then following that is the tourism management grant.
Well, the marketing grant closed, so it's.
So it's the management grant that's open till the 30th, right?
Yes.
Tourism management grant,
right.
that has to be a specific project.
It's,
Right.
no, it's open later than the 30th. It's open into January sometime.
January
January
30th.
30th.
Yeah.
Yeah, January 30th is the deadline for that one.
Yes, it's, the best way to explain it is it can't be marketing. Even though they kind of say, you can do this, this, and this, and I'm like, yeah, that's marketing.
Yeah.
I have a list of the eligible projects, but if you haven't applied for that yet, we
We
should.
were
We are
thinking
looking at
about, a wayfinding project that included a touchscreen kiosk and signage around town and that. So like, I was thinking beyond what we were talking about, so they were saying there should be a map, on several maps, actually, depending on, you wanna do the historical map. So when you hit the historical map and you figure out which site you want to, in my head, there's a little sign that pops up, and then when you go down to look for Trinidad History Museum, the sign that you saw on the map looks like the sign that's in front of the building.
Okay. Are you guys familiar with that
I
grant?
don't know.
So it's a 4-to-1 match. You come up with 5,000, they give you 20. So total's just 25,000. Digital touchscreen kiosk sounds very expensive.
Yes, but we do have additional.
Yeah,
funds.
okay. Just making sure we're setting the right
Yes.
expectations.
This
Any
was-
recommendations on anything you have you think we qualify for, please send them our
Well,
way.
that's the one that we should hit immediately because it's due
Awesome.
immediately.
Would a festival quote be?
I don't think
I don't think it's
funding
in
the
the-
festival, but
There's some
maybe
different grants
planning
for
it.
that too.
Yeah, because, well, you've got the infrastructure, if you're gonna have a festival, you're gonna have to have, facilities.
Oh, I know, I
Things that
set
are
the,
gonna cost.
yeah, I know, I set the
Yeah.
shovel down there. and
You
that's-
cannot pay for facilities, you cannot pay for, salaries. I'm gonna bring up a list and I'll just be.
so, let me double check.
Okay, I can pull that out.
Is this water right here? Is that a water?
It is.
It is?
It does,
Oh, it's
it's
going
not
to-
linking, so I don't know
Okay.
that it's.
Yeah, it's
Probably not working.
Under that thing on top, I think there's a button, the
Oh, okay.
computer.
I didn't
Also,
see it.
probably gonna have to jump pretty soon to, I know we have one other agenda item, so, I don't wanna rush things, I know we're gonna have plenty more conversations.
Yeah, this is mainly just a get together, get to know each other, and it's filling its purpose perfect.
So you talked about immersion, are you gonna do that in the summer or the spring?
Right. Anytime you think's appropriate, and
So
maybe
what do
you
you
and I
want to
can.
see? What is it that you want when you
That's
get
the
there?
question for us.
Yeah, you tell us what you want us to see, and then during that, what always happens is we're like, oh, people would like this, and we don't come in with the blinders on, like, we don't live here, so we're like, that would be something.
So that's the, getting the stakeholders together and meeting at that same time?
Yeah, and then
Okay.
also just meeting everybody, you know.
You have his contract, told you.
I was just talking to Marty about that. It's, over our procurement threshold, it has to go to council next Tuesday, so they'll approve it on Tuesday, the mayor will sign it that night and make sure they're.
No problem. And then I'll
Yeah.
sign it as well.
Have you registered with the city as a vendor yet, do you know?
No.
Okay, let's get him that information
Right,
too.
okay, the forms and stuff, Brian.
Perfect.
I'll put that on the notes.
Everything's better with dogs.
So I'll need your
So-
W-9 as well.
I'm sorry?
I'll need a W-9.
Okay, yeah, that's easy.
Yeah, that's part of the.
There you go.
Do you want,
It's actually my phone.
you're on good, you have a good feeling for what the board might want with that tourism management grant?
No.
Okay, do you want me to read to you very quickly the eligibility requirements for it? So it can be a tourism product. So that might be a bicycle tourism guide, so you could pay for the next print cycle of the gravel bike ride.
Can it be an existing piece that we're gonna republish?
It could be, but my guess would be, since it's a competitive grant,
Yeah. we want
that
to-
would be like lame and they wouldn't score you very high.
Right.
Food and farm trails, stargazing product,
Ooh,
travel, Philip, I always have trouble saying this,
philanthropy.
Yeah, I did go to college, I promise. We happen to be the folks that created the statewide stargazing experience, so.
I'm glad you mentioned that. That's something that keeps coming up. So Simpson's Rest is a good example. We're doing some updates there. I would love for us to have, some local astronomy and stargazing options, so just.
Well, we
We
can,
did look at that a little bit, and we're not low enough light.
well, so
That's
that's
like
if you,
dark sky.
that's if you
Yeah.
wanna be designated.
Yeah.
As a dark.
You don't live in Denver, at night, it was, if you're downtown, it's probably bad. You go
Yeah.
out a mile away from town, you can see it all.
Yeah.
All of our city lights are dark sky compliant, all of our street lights and everything. I'd love to see us eventually adopt an ordinance that requires that for residential and commercial.
And we can,
Through
Street lights, even like up Colorado.
Yeah, yeah.
You'll see it bright as heck.
I know, but it's because they're downcasting, so the top of it prevents the light from going upwards.
so we can develop something, regardless of you being designated as officially a dark sky community. We
Yeah.
can develop and start
That'd be
using
good.
colors sometime. The second thing would be visitor education, so things like Do Colorado Right, so it's very similar to Colorado.
Yeah.
Care for Colorado or an LNT Trailhead Ambassador Program, whatever that means.
Sorry to interrupt you, quick question on that.
Yes.
Do you know on Do Colorado Right, one of the questions I have is, I get that Colorado's kind of trying to make that a statewide campaign for Colorado. Do we need to adopt any semblance of that to be eligible for certain funding?
I don't think you have to adopt it.
Yeah.
I mean, you're jumping on the bandwagon of something they're already promoting and pushing, so that helps recognition.
And we're members.
And your members, and if you want to work in a sustainable,
Yeah.
stewardship type manner, it's
And
good.
the reason I asked that, when I was working in New Mexico, that's when they deployed the New Mexico True campaign. And so they had a grant program where if you wanted to be a local partner with that campaign, you could get money, but you had to use that New Mexico True somehow. So
I
that
haven't
was the
seen
New
any
Mexico
money
True.
attached to it.
There's no money.
Okay.
So what we've done for areas, and not even in the state, but sometimes we put our own little spin on that.
Yeah,
We brand it like a little sub-brand
yeah.
and, do Trinidad. Or, something
Yeah.
simple.
I
But it's the
personally don't
same.
like that, but these guys.
Well, I know, I'm just, whatever.
So,
You could do that. The idea is basically, we're inviting you into our home. This is our home. Treat it like, treat it like you would treat your own home.
Can we just say right here in Trinidad?
Yeah.
Campaign.
Yeah. I'm not, the campaign name will.
No, I figured that.
Third thing is tourism and workforce development, so training programs for frontline staff. So you could do you could piggyback on the Colorado Competier program, which is a training program at CTLTAB. Skill-based training program. I found it very difficult for anybody to successfully do those frontline staff things because the gas stations and restaurants, they're low-paid
Turnovers.
staff, the turnover's huge,
Yeah.
the people that own the places like, look, if I can get them to count back cash at the register, I'm happy. I'm not gonna change.
I tried it with a gold, I think it was Gold Star Hospitality, and they were paying for the whole thing. I mean, all the lodges that we needed, everything that we needed, they were paying for. We promoted it for, I wanna say 5 months. Made personal invitations, I went to each of the restaurants face to face. I had 2 people sign up out of 150 invitations.
That doesn't surprise me at all. I'm sorry that you went,
Yeah,
but,
it was worth the effort, I mean,
It's a
at
great
least
thing
I
to bring
know,
forward.
yeah,
at least we tried.
it's a good idea. Next thing is tourism-related strategic planning, so stakeholder and resident engagement. So this would be like the advocacy program.
Yeah.
You could actually have some sort of, paid development for that and plan to disseminate it, plan to present it. And it could even be, I've thought about, you could create a little video that presented the, like infographics and video that went on Facebook to the community, and then they could see it.
Yeah. And Amanda's right, we've engaged a contractor to do a citywide strategic plan, and I'm hoping that that will help us come together as a community and identify our major goals over the next 5 years. And that tourism is obviously going to be one of the huge ones in that. So in January, we are going to have some community meetings. We'll have some targeted stakeholder meetings. So it's an opportunity for, if you all think there's certain feedback we'd like on the tourism side as we go through that, we'll have a captive audience.
Yeah, that's a good time to, tourism's like the front door to economic development. It all plays together, so it's a really good opportunity that you guys are on, kind of build a foundation. Next is tourism research, feasibility studies, economic impact reports, visitor profiles. So you can pay for some research. And then what you already mentioned, infrastructure that enhances the visitor experience, such as wayfinding and signage and educational kiosks. There's a caveat that says you have to have a letter of support from the property owner or proof that the applicant owns the property prior.
If we were to install a kiosk, it would probably be city property, so.
Yeah.
Just need
And
the
the
city
city
to
would
sign
be-
off on it.
Well, the city would be the applicant, because the lodging tax, well,
Yeah.
Probably.
the city would be the applicant.
Honestly, if you had to choose either or, I'd rather get wayfinding out of the city with classic old school metal signs than a kiosk.
Parking here, census rest there.
We can always add a kiosk later.
We'll use
But
the
signage is a
signs.
huge gap right now, and I know Matome just did theirs in the last year or two, and it looks great. So, just clear cut, like visitor center this way, city hall over there, or like trails that way, throughout the city. I don't know if we can get away with that with 25 grand, but we might be able to supplement a bit as well.
Well, you could maybe plan it, right? You could maybe identify all the locations where you need signs and who the owner is, or,
And we have a plan from 2011, and in fact, we ordered signs back then, long before any of us were involved in it. And they're sitting in a shed. Keely, Jason's husband, wife, sorry. It's been a long week.
It's all good. It's 2020.
Jason's partner, she's actually spearheaded getting some of those signs. We have put a couple of them up for parking. They don't have reflective backing, which we'd really like to see because then they're visible at night.
yeah.
But we can also get that plan in front of you all, and maybe we don't have to start from scratch.
Sure.
That might be a good starting point, and it obviously needs to be updated. So.
Yeah. And while I'm thinking about it, I mean, since I'm kind of around, all these different locations, I can think of areas that have done certain things, and I can, if there's something that's helpful, I can put you in touch with the right person and say, hey,
What are the lessons learned?
Canyon City did a huge signage thing.
Yeah.
How'd they do it? Who'd they go with? How'd they get this done?
Cool.
And if we're thinking about brand and making sure that everything's cohesive, this is the time to do that before we design a bunch of signs and put them in concrete for the next 20 years.
And apologies if you guys talked about this when I was out, but I think having some kind of a style guide or something like that for having consistency on everything we do when it comes to marketing for tourists would be
Yeah.
really beneficial.
Totally.
Okay, so
We do have a style guide,
Do we?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, didn't you and Lisa put that together?
yes. We do have a style guide.
You need to have some restrictions if they're gonna repost or they're gonna redo something. They have to follow the style.
Yeah.
Right.
Or use our
And
original
it's
graphic.
colors, it's fonts,
Okay,
it's, yeah, it's
So we
everything.
have that, okay.
I'll give them a get that for you.
Do people know what's
Steve,
that?
I was just saying, I gotta go back to the shop shortly, so,
Okay. That's fine.
I just shift gears to the budget.
Yeah, sounds good. Okay,
So send me a list of,
We'll schedule a whole meeting. We'll send you a list, but I think there will also be, we'll have to walk you through.
okay, all right.
And it sounds like I need to get in, very close with Denise for some stuff. Is this something that I probably should?
you're welcome to stay for this, absolutely. We're just gonna talk about our budget for next year and.
So exciting stuff.
Exactly. But we've already negotiated the contract, so we're not.
Ashley's still okay, you want to give them back?
Actually, this is really good to see this. It's
Yeah,
something
and
that
you're welcome to take that.
I end up recommending and doing a lot of the budgets to the board, so.
Yeah, and this is all just draft at this point, so.
Husker.
Husker?
Husker.
So basically what we did, so we restructured our ordinance, as we talked about earlier. So we really had to create all new line items going in 2024 to match what the ordinance prescribes. So this, you'll see at the top, we have the percentages for each of the ordinance buckets. And then we tried to match that as much as possible in the actual budget detail so that it ties back to those specific amounts that we're anticipating receiving. So we can start on the top where it says tourism fund. That is our revenues. So we're anticipating $500,000. That's our estimate for next year. Interest income, we do invest some of our reserves, and interest rates have been huge lately. So that's a product of hard economic times. Interest rates are very up for everyone, including our investments. So that's nice to see. So that's another $10,000 that we'll receive. Not sure what the sales tax commission is for $40. Doesn't really matter. $500. I think that's a lot of what. I'm not sure what miscellaneous revenue is for that. I'll have to ask Cheryl on that. But then the travel shop revenue, that's the things we sell in our welcome centers. So we get some money from that. We're anticipating $17,000 next year, which is good. But there is some of that money as we look at the expenditures. There's a balance because we spend money on some of those things to buy them to sell, and then
Perpetuates.
Yeah.
revenue, not cost.
So you make
Right.
the sales and you can purchase more merchandise, so
But
it
it's-
just
yeah.
perpetuates it.
It's important to
For
point out,
evolves.
because there's been some criticisms about, the things we're selling. We don't necessarily see them as a profit generator, they're just something that's really important to have, so people can take a souvenir back. And if you ever look at how Vegas developed, the most brilliant thing happened in the 50s for them, where they just started giving away free stuff, and that's really how swag kind of got started. And then
Lobster dinners.
right, so you go to Vegas and then you get an ashtray that you have on your coffee table back in Michigan, and then when everyone comes to your house, they're like, oh, Caesar's Palace, whatever,
Marketing. All marketing.
So that's what I kind of like about our stuff we're selling. It's more we're getting that opportunity to continue our marketing outside of the visit. Just to let you guys know, we get about net $3,000 revenue, so it's not. We're definitely making money on it, and that's the important thing. And then transfer from general fund. So this is our general fund subsidy, and we have been putting in. Oh, sorry, I skipped over space to create events. So we're hoping that number's in red because we don't know what the pricing structure and what the demand is going to be for this building. But
We're currently looking at costs for rental spaces,
yeah,
at conferences or meetings or whatever the case might be, so hoping to generate some revenue.
absolutely.
Here,
And we
space
want
market.
a portion of that revenue, not all of it, but a portion to go into tourism so we can help you guys have a little bit more money to work with. And then right now we're looking at a $67,000 transfer in from the general fund. I'll have to ask Cheryl. I forget
That's
why
for the
that's.
welcome center.
Oh, that's a welcome center. I'm sorry. So okay, that's right. So welcome center is partially funded by lodging tax, but then partially funded by the general fund. So that's what that is. So we transfer that in to make sure we have enough money for welcome center operations. All right, let's go to the first expenses, which is marketing. So advertising publications, we have $144,000. And then, this is where even if we adopt this budget, we have total flexibility. So when it says billboards, we've kind of taken that out because I think we're getting away from that. But like postage shipping, 6,500, we're anticipating to send out our travel guides and that type of thing. Dues and subscriptions, those are very important. Those are mandated things that we subscribe to be members of, what's our
Care for
Care for
Colorado,
Colorado.
Destination Colorado,
Destination
Tour Colorado.
Yeah, all of those things we have to pay for access. Kiosks and wayfinding signage, this is $16,000, and I think that's to support
The
particularly.
the two kiosks,
Yeah.
Pocket Park and Miners Memorial.
One of the huge things we're hoping to accomplish, certainly before the warm season next year, is to re-wrap both of the kiosks, because they have Trinidad True Outdoors on them as well, and that website's going away once we incorporate that effort into our visitor website. And then basic costs, copier, office supplies, other operating expenses. So $172,950 is the percentage for marketing. And then of course that 144 includes the contract amount for these guys. Actually, no, that's not true. We're taking that out of reserves.
That's coming out of
Right, so you guys have a pot of money there to actually spend for doing the direct advertisements. Personnel, so this is where we do share some of our lodging tax, and we have forever since it was incepted to help out paying some of our salaries that go directly into tourism efforts. So Marty's one of them, and then if you've not met Jeff, amazing guy, and he's Marty's assistant director basically. And so Jeff is now full-time manager over at the Welcome Center with volunteers over there. So he gets paid a portion out of this, but I can't think of a better person, by the way, than when tourists come in. If they meet Jeff Rawson, they're gonna have an amazing experience. He's just a great representative of our community and does a good job. And then with that, obviously certain benefits that go with that. Trolley drivers, we budget $22,800. They're non-benefited, but that's what we put in there. My understanding, Marty, and correct me if I'm wrong, we budget for what we want for trolley drivers, but I don't think we ever really spend that much because.
We do in wages.
We do in
usually.
wages,
We
okay.
do in wages, we don't, in other areas we don't. So,
Yeah.
like last year, we lost our housing for our trolley.
Yeah,
So, we put that back in the event that we find somewhere that we can store the trolley.
okay,
So that's also in there too.
cool. So $150,000 from that 30% of maintenance improvement, development of rec facilities and programs. That's just there as a placeholder. So it's in the appropriate line item, and now we can work with you all, Parks and Rec Board, and combine our efforts to see how we can start putting that into community improvements. And I love the thought of always keeping in mind how is this going to help a visitor's experience. Arts and cultural events, so we have 50,000 there. I know Allison was here at the last meeting to kind of put in a request. I'll be candid with you, we're looking at about maybe $10,000 that we would like to support the Mitchell with, which is a very small amount for them, but every bit helps at this point. But when we get to next year and start talking about these specific expenditures, we'll still have a little bit of money in our reserves, so we may want to reserve that $50,000 to promote and do events throughout the year that are arts and cultural based. And then if you guys are open to it, we could suggest supporting the Mitchell out of some of our reserves, at least for next year.
And
So
some
that-
other things that we're looking at is music festival
Yeah,
for the summer, and then Santa Fe Trailers
and 420 Festival.
and 420s.
Yeah, we're hoping Brian to be the first city ever to sponsor a 420 festival. They're all done privately. I'm talking to Ashley this morning. I can't think of any other city that they themselves have put on an event like that. But we've been really wanting to support our cannabis industry. They're really struggling right now for lots of reasons, particularly New Mexico legalizing. So we're thinking, but we want to go big on this. We're thinking maybe at the golf course. food trucks. Every local business in town will be invited to have a booth, so you guys can promote your businesses, that type of thing.
You will ask for a man to play, he hits me up all the time trying to get
We want,
I can't afford him.
yeah, we want a whole day festival of music, you know, and the big thing for me, unfortunately, we won't be able to allow kids because, you know, we will allow consumption on site. But you don't have to be a pot smoker to go have a good time and enjoy yourself. I want my 167 employees who can't smoke pot to be able to, you know, still go have a good time, or at least don't tell me you're smoking pot.
Where does the money for that come from?
So there's not really a ton of money that's involved in it. But we will try to identify some sources for that.
Still get sponsorships.
There's
Sponsorships.
You have our sponsorship.
We are. We can't have alcohol, for example, served with the marijuana, unfortunately, so.
But you can have one more.
So the cannabis industry can, they have some restrictions at the state level for a lot of things that, you know, participating in local festivals and things like that.
Yeah.
Where this will give them the freedom to
Yeah.
promote their business as they need to.
And this may be a catalyst, I don't want to get too far off track, but just last point on this, catalyst for us, and the council's open to it, shockingly so, but we're glad, of having consumption clubs in our community. We're getting feedback,
Consumption what?
consumption club, so it's where, like a
Oh,
bar,
club.
you could go smoke marijuana on site, socialize, like you're going out to have a drink at a bar.
A lot of pillows with a hook in the middle.
Yeah, yeah.
Those are the things that are gonna, you know, attract that,
That's different.
yeah, that, you know, that
That's an
type of
audience.
visitors and stuff, and
Yeah, there's some,
make them feel comfortable about it, not that it's a bad thing.
When is the festival planned?
well, 420.
420.
Of course.
Which is a Saturday,
Oh, nice.
and then we're also,
You have about a 210.
yeah, we want to do maybe a 210 event, that wouldn't be smoking, but invite our cannabis folks to have some displays here and promote, you know, their businesses, hand out coupons, talk about what they're doing, and we're calling it halfway to 420. So, so lots to talk about, you know, as we move forward, but I wanted to point those things out specifically because I think they're big deals. On the
There's 710
miscellaneous,
too. Just put it out.
there you go.
710,
Hmm.
that's oil if you flip it over.
Oh.
So that's the day
Oh,
we
boy.
have our specials on concentrates.
Oh.
Ah.
Can't wait to hear the feedback from our community. Anyway, miscellaneous, the 5% comes out to about $25,000. So we do have some expenditures that we have budgeted for those that made sense. So training, traveling, mileage, that just gets a little bit of budget, not only for staff, but for you all too, if you guys want to go
So
to.
that will be how Ashley goes to the Tour Colorado exhibit that she's gonna
Exactly.
do, promoting Trinidad, that type of thing.
Yeah, so that's for as much for you all as it is for Marty and our staff. We need to keep abreast of current things. Transfer out to the general fund, that's 10,000. We're just taking it out of that 5% miscellaneous bucket. So the ordinance gives the general fund a 2% admin fee out of lodging tax, and that is to just kind of make up some of the efforts that are paid for out of the general fund otherwise. So HR, finance, anything I'm doing, anything Auditor's doing, that type of thing to
And
support.
Cheryl,
It's just, yes, we do that with all of our utilities, for example, they're all enterprise funds, but they pay an admin fee back to the general fund for the support services that we offer, so.
You don't clock that time or anything.
No.
It's just,
In fact, $10,000 is gonna be extremely low compared to
Yeah,
what we're
figures.
actually putting in. With our enterprise funds, we actually do go through a process of identifying all our costs.
It's
and
like
stuff.
it's what we serve, we give away the 1%.
So then the other two items you'll see on here are vehicle repair, maintenance, and gasoline, diesel for the van and for the trolley. And that's just so we have money to make sure they're in good shape. So that does leave a little bit of extra there, $3,000 or so it gives us a little bit of wiggle room there. And then that's it really on the actual lodging tax side. But then the general fund subsidy, travel, shop revenue side, I won't go all over these all in detail, but these are just some other miscellaneous things. Like you'll see coffee and condiments on there for $700. That's because we provide a Keurig and offer people a cup of coffee if they're coming to the welcome center.
And, right,
Yeah. which is really important in my opinion, so.
Common practice.
Right?
It is.
So a lot of these things are out of the general fund, so this just kind of shows, this isn't paid for out of lodging tax, we just supplement with the general fund. So like janitorial services, utilities, that type of thing as well. Space to create event setup, that's red. I'm actually really happy to announce real quick, and then I think I'm about done. One thing that I think is huge for this facility is we're looking at, I think we have the call out right now, we're accepting letters of interest around our restaurant space here. And, yeah, and one of the restaurateurs came up with a great idea, and so what we're looking for is that they would also bring in crews to set up, tear down the space. So they'd be doing catering for the events, but they would also charge a fee to whoever the event person is, where they would get reimbursed for the time setting up tables, chairs, and that takes it off of Margie and Lisa's plate. They've been doing it, it's really not part of their job. So I love kind of outsourcing that. But,
Not to get off topic,
yeah.
but I had a question. So if an event comes in and they're not needing catering,
Mhm.
will they still provide those services?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
I mean, that would just be a fee they would collect and still do that.
Okay.
It doesn't have to be tied to catering at all.
Got it.
Okay? So that comes up to $119,000 that kind of comes out of the general fund as well to offset. So when you look at the totals on the bottom, our operational expenses are $619,268. Right now, our reserves are sitting at about $290. That'll go down as we spend on some of the things, and you can see the footnote there on the side. That's $130K for space to create furnishings that you guys authorized, and that's for the audio-visual equipment, everything, not $230. Yeah. In fact, a lot of it's already been installed. So JC, we gave him a check for $40,000. He drove a truck out to Sweetwater in Indiana, loaded all kinds of equipment up and brought it in.
No, but he didn't call me.
I know, that would have been a great road trip. And then we have another, I think it's about $60,000 worth of equipment that we're working on ordering right now that'll be shipped here and installed probably after the Smithsonian exhibit, just so we're not.
We have a celebration when we do that.
It's huge. And then, for example, for the 420 festival, the equipment, I think I've told you guys before, is designed to be mobile, case stuff, moved, so we'll have access to a portable stage, speakers, lighting that we can offer to bands if they need it for events like that.
So awesome.
Yeah. And then we're looking at a total expense budget of $909,000. So just to highlight, we're anticipating revenues directly into the tourism fund in 2024 of $619. We have $119,000 offset by the general fund as it stands now, $290,000 in reserves, and that's how we get to that 909 thing. So we're the over/under is 271.85, which is
Sounds like a good Christmas party to me.
right, which is where we want it to be. We want this budget to essentially be zero because the expenditures and revenue should balance each other out. And so I think we're in good shape. What I feel like, and open any questions, concerns you guys have, but I'm hoping this sets up a really good structure for you all to now have the money there to make decisions on how to spend it.
I have two questions.
Yeah.
So number one, the advertising publications budget, 144K, that is what's meant to buy ads.
Yeah.
Is that gonna be paying for the visitors guide and that kind of stuff, or is
It's
it?
already been paid for. This
Yeah.
past
Right,
week.
okay. So any social ads, any Google ads, anything we buy, that's coming out of there.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Print as well, we go that route.
So it would be good then if, like, right away, we develop how that split is.
Yeah.
You know, say, well, let's go 60/40 digital, traditional, whatever, and here's those pie.
And that'd be a great thing for you to help us with, Brian. Obviously, you're gonna be giving us suggestions on what we should advertise, how we should advertise, and that'd be great if we could really work to fine tune how we're gonna spend that money throughout the year.
And that's anticipated, and why I was asking the question. Second was, some communities set aside a percentage, it's in the bylaws or whatever, to let events, businesses, nonprofits, whatever, ask for money once a year or once a month or whatever, and give that out in the form of a grant?
We've been doing
We've
that.
been doing that.
Yeah, and so
Is
what
that in here someplace?
it is.
Okay.
It is, so that's what I'd like to see, but it's these guys who can offer the suggestion, but on the art and cultural events item, that 50,000, I think that is appropriate to, share that money in the form of grants with people who wanna plan a festival privately or that type of thing, that is meant for the community.
How much have we been spending?
About, 100,000 is what we've
Yeah.
got.
Yes.
Yeah,
that was
and
my
that,
only
it makes
comment
sense
on
to,
it, is that it went down a little bit,
Yeah.
and,
But that doesn't
we're
mean
gonna have a lot of new festivals coming in, just because we've lost some of our biggest ones,
Mhm.
so they might need some funding
Sure.
to get started and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And 50 might be a little bit low, I'm not sure, but that was my only comment
Absolutely.
on the budget.
And as we work through it, I mean, the 144,750 that we have in advertising publications, we could use some of that money also for those events. So to specifically advertise that event's happening.
Do we have to decide now, or can we move stuff around throughout the year? Or does
You
that
can move it
take
around throughout the year.
Is that like a hard process, or do we need the council to?
Well, based on the structure of the ordinance, so just taking that 50,000 that we have there, you can't move that to another line item because under the ordinance, 10% has to be budgeted for that.
Right.
But,
Somewhere else that has an overage, we could move
Sure.
some there.
sure.
Okay, gotcha.
We also still have reserves to work with.
Yeah, there's reserves as well.
Yeah.
And then there may be opportunities in the general fund as well.
As long as there's some flexibility, because I could see if someone wants to come out and put on like a nice size event,
Yeah,
the whole line item for local festival funding, it might be something like that, or that might
Yeah.
fund like 2 events or something, so. As long as we have a way that we can,
yeah,
something really great comes along, that we
Yeah.
can still help out,
absolutely.
that would be awesome.
I think so. And one thing I would say is, I would hate to see us out of lodging tax funding an entire event.
Yeah, for
I
sure.
think it's
No, we
appropriate
should
that we
not.
subsidize and a portion, in form of a grant goes to help them, but it shouldn't be all on lodging tax.
No,
to
I
put
think
on.
it should be matched.
What about when it's a city event?
That's different, and that won't come out of lodging tax.
one of the things that was troubling about the previous board was there was, I don't know that it was waste, but some events were really overfunded. They should have been required to, they couldn't rely totally on the tourism board and that. And I think some of it got to be that way.
Yeah. There's some equity concerns.
Yeah, so I think this may be a little bit more, I think we could be fair and really help things get started, but we can't, be giving, $40,000, $50,000 for,
Every year.
unless it's a city operated,
For sure to
Yeah, it
help,
has
but
to be
we
sustainable.
assist in any way we can to help them become profitable, to become at least, this is how you raise money, here are the people you should reach out to, because,
Yeah.
this isn't just a pinky bank,
Brandon,
Absolutely.
You gotta have some skin in the game,
It
you
took
gotta
2 or
have
3
some
years to
investors.
establish at least.
Absolutely.
well, they get lazy, you get an event, you give them too much.
If you don't have, because that stuff sucks,
Exactly.
if you don't have to do it, I wouldn't either, but.
Yeah.
Well, just to give you an example of this, the Blues Fest is something that always comes up as a concern. So we used to have a Blues Fest that would attract people from outside of the region to come here and hear blues music. It used to be at a park, and then the organizers over the last couple of years moved it to downtown. There's debates on which was better, but that doesn't matter. But what I will say is lodging tax was giving that event about $28,000 a year. Plus, for most of its existence, the city out of its general fund was giving about $60,000 a year.
Whoa, wow.
So, as much as people talk about how that was great, and there's a perceived economic impact, and certainly it directly supports our businesses, so
It's
for
not
that it's
much.
good. But as far as just looking at it nuts and bolts from the city standpoint, okay, we're putting in nearly $100,000 to this event.
There's your skin.
And
Yeah.
we did some analysis of what we thought the tax revenue in return, even including lodging tax, we couldn't come up with more than a $10,000 impact directly into our coffers. So for the $100,000 we're putting back, putting in public money, we're getting $10,000 of that back to the event. So essentially, the taxpayers are paying for this event.
You could have helped 4 events
Yeah,
with $20,000 apiece, and and give them a real chance to survive.
Yeah.
Instead of, don't go back, way back, obviously there was politics involved
Yeah.
and things and why it was there, and it was good for the city, but it kind of,
It's historical.
It is.
It's just happened and it kept
Yeah.
happening.
yeah.
And what I will say is the
But a
organizer.
lot of the funding was going to the stage, which we now own,
Yeah.
so that is gonna be substantially easier for everyone to rent a stage and get to move down. You're looking at $20,000 of speakers, and now we have that on, so we can really.
So that's a great
do lot
point,
with
Jason.
that.
I think the other thing, aside from direct financial resources, you're absolutely right. There's other things we can provide to support these events that may not be.
Did you ever see the budgets, the talent budgets,
I
and
did,
what they
yeah.
were?
Oh, they're televised.
Yeah, in my opinion, I saw a list of them, just because I'd asked for it. They were overpaid.
Yeah.
Acts that were not national acts, they, called them, and, it was just not.
Just overpaid. Well, the main point on that though is, even the first year when they came and we gave them money, it was very expressed to them, that this is just meant to be seed money, to your point, to get the event going. And they were told for years, we really want you guys to get to a point where you're not asking us for money. As this catches on and gets more popular.
Becomes sustainable.
Right, and it just never got to that point. So I think that's one thing we can really focus on when we support events is, how do we make them successful so that they can continue to be successful on their own?
I think actually is asking them for their own analysis rather than having to have the city 10 years later
Do you have
say,
an
"Oh, crunch the numbers."
Exactly.
Do you have an application process for folks?
Yeah, I have a funding,
We do.
it's based on the grant request form that I had previously, now it's a funding request. So it's not specific to advertising and marketing. Before, it had to be used specifically outside, 50 miles outside of Trinidad, and it had to be used specifically for
And you don't
advertising
do
and
that
marketing.
anymore?
Well, this is the first year under the new ordinance, so we're creating that structure as
We're
we speak.
learning.
I just want to circle back to budget in
Please.
March. I don't have any other questions. Are we voting on just approving this today, or are we just getting eyeballs on it?
Getting eyeballs on it, what I need from you all is any feedback. Council approves the final budget next Tuesday. So if there's anything in here that looks out of whack, we have an opportunity to change it. But you all don't necessarily need to vote, but your consent is good enough for today.
With the new dues and subscriptions, was that enough? Okay.
Yeah, I don't see anything
And then
major.
when we pay for like that, the booth that we're getting at Tour Travel, that's an expense, where would that come out?
The what?
Like the tour travel adventure show, I don't know why I keep talking.
Yeah,
The travel adventure show in Denver next month that I'm going to.
yeah.
We had to pay for a booth, a table in the booth.
It would probably be
And I was
advertising and
wondering where-
publications, so what you're
Yeah.
doing is you're promoting the city, so you're basically advertising and marketing the city, so it would probably come out of advertising and publications, so it would be advertising.
It's a good question. I think
Because
we
Tour
can,
Colorado does have several opportunities throughout the year at different places as well as, they do a show in Denver, but they also do a show in Phoenix and Dallas and here and there and everywhere.
well, and by design, I'll be candid with you all, and the public, they deserve to hear this too, but if you look at the titles for the buckets, that's basically how they're listed in the ordinance, and they're designed to be a little bit ambiguous so that we do have that flexibility. And I think that's really important that we're not locking ourselves into crippling our options.
Right, so when I have to put in a purchase order, I'll discuss it with Cheryl, where does this belong?
Yeah. Cool.
And that's extremely common in private enterprise too.
Yeah.
I mean, when I'm doing my expenses, it's pretty
Yeah.
valuable. You can only have so many buckets. You don't want to
Right.
have a zillion line items.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Well, it's basically a guide, it's not the Bible.
Right, well, and you guys get to use this money to make decisions throughout the year, so that's where the real fun comes, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I think this discussion will be more interesting next year, especially because first year with
Yeah.
this breakdown under the ordinance.
Yep.
So we're gonna kind of discover if this ends up working for us or not.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's what I think the intent, there's obviously things we have known that we need to pay for next year, but then there's a lot in here that's just parked there for you guys to make decisions on how it's spent.
Exhibit.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay, Any other questions on the budget? Are we good? Okay, Joe can get back to
Yeah, I
work.
got it, man. Thank
So,
you all.
do we have
Appreciate you.
Joe, can you have a son and name him, Justin? Cause then he'd be like, you could call him Just Cause.
Just cause.
me and her? We ought to do the whole.
Once again,
Rolling.
Christmas Express tonight, tomorrow night.
Are you guys around next week?
Hey, what is it?
Check out your sex.
This one?
Get back to
This Brad.
This weekend.
I think so.
Yeah, and then remember.
No, that keeps still.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, really good about
Or just
it.
you have a-
Outside, just he's outside.
Pretty awesome.
We'll bring the bike down. Every trip, I mean, you have some rides. You'll have to wait till it smells it out.
Do you have any groomed trails with that bike?
Nothing is currently groomed, but it's something I love